Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have Stacy Savage. She's the Texas Trash Talker. She helps businesses increase revenue, deepen customer loyalty, and empower employees by driving a green marketing edge. Stacy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, so how did you get into this? Like, what exactly are you doing? Let's let everybody know.
Well, I grew up in Southeast Texas near the Louisiana border and on the Gulf Coast. And that's where it's, the oil and gas mecca of the country, of the US. So my parents both worked at oil and gas refineries for a collective 75 years. And I have extended family that still work at these very refineries. And, we grew up under brownish hazy skies and rotten egg smells from the sulfur in the air. And, that was just home. And you're close to home whenever you start smelling that again. I had always taken an interest in the environment, in wildlife, nature. I wanted to be a marine biologist in college, but life took me a different route, and now I'm talking trash to whoever will listen.
Nice.
So yeah, it's all about waste management and helping businesses reduce their impacts to waste impacts on landfills, and to mitigate that and making sure that the waste is not considered waste anymore. We see it as a very valuable commodity. Things like cardboard and paper, glass, metal, plastics, those are materials on the commodities market that can be reformulated into new products, remanufactured, refabricated. So there's a whole system beyond the 3 R's of reduce, reuse, recycle that we know of, that we're kind of missing out on. Things like repair, like I said, remanufacturing, refabrication, resoiling, which is kind of more like a food waste composting strategies. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and a lot of habit change as well. So that's where we come in to help these companies optimize their operations internally, help them with their purchasing practices, and also training their staff to change those habits and how they view quote unquote trash as now a valuable commodity.
All right. So let's say we have a lot of small business owners that like to listen to this show, and let's say their business has been open for a few years now, and they're looking for, how do they start implementing a better waste management incentive into their company, right? Like, how would they begin doing that? Like, what are some tips and tricks?
Yeah, I got to tell you, for any size business, waste reduction is the fastest and cheapest way to kick off or launch your sustainability journey within your business. And that is because you are really maximizing your resources instead of sending them to landfill or incineration facilities. You're looking at them in different ways. You're looking at these materials in different ways of, how can I reuse this? Or how can I repair this instead of chucking it into the dumpster out back because it's more convenient for me? So I would say the first thing is, never take a hauler's word for it. And what I mean is the trash hauler, the recycling hauler, the company that hauls away your materials once they've emptied your dumpster into their truck from your property. It goes off site. And so a lot of times for people, it's out of sight, out of mind. But it doesn't go away. There's no such place as away on a circular planet with finite resources. It's always in somebody else's backyard, or in our oceans, or in these landfill or incineration facilities. So it's got to go somewhere. It's incumbent upon us to reduce how much we're putting in that dumpster, and not taking the hauler's word for it, how much you should be charged. for weekly pickups and how much dumpster capacity you may need. They may give you a dumpster and give you an arbitrary price per month. But one thing that business owners can do is to track their waste flows throughout that month. Maybe do like every a couple of times each week. Just take a peek into the dumpster to see how much the dumpster is filling up at what rate before the next pickup, before the hauler comes and collects that material to pull it off of your property. And you'll be able to start seeing that, you know, maybe every time that they come and pick up your dumpster, it's only 50% full. So you're probably paying about twice as much as you actually need to. And what you can do is sit down with them after what's called right sizing. So we right size the dumpster space of the actual receptacle, and we right size how many times per week they come and pick that dumpster up. And that is the first and easiest place to really reduce your costs on a monthly basis. I've been able to save companies 40% on their monthly waste bills, sometimes even higher, because they weren't right sized for their actual business needs. So when you sit down with the hauler and you've got the data, you can say, we don't need this much dumpster space and we don't need 3 pickups a week. We need 2 pickups a week. So let's renegotiate our costs. And that way you can see those cost savings. Those cost savings can actually be put into new programs such as recycling. And if you already have recycling, maybe you consider food waste composting from your employee cafeteria. And keeping that way, you can keep reducing the amount of capacity to in the trash landfill, the landfill trash receptacle. And you can keep reducing the weekly pickup as well of the landfill trash receptacle. So it is just gauging how much capacity you actually need and how many pickups you need. And the more that you divert from the actual landfill trash, you can put those cost savings into the new programs, and to start empowering your employees by implementing staff training that is, you know, something they can really dig their teeth into, right? They can really get behind with a sense of purpose, the ability to help your company reduce waste, because they're a part of it. They can see that they're taking green actions every day. They've been well trained, and we're changing those habits, and we're changing those hearts and minds around trash being viewed as trash. Again, these are valuable commodities that need to be put back on the materials market for remanufacturing, refabrication, reuse, repair, resoiling. And that in turn puts people to work in the local community. It supports local, the stability of local tax bases.
Yeah, no, I know one of the jobs that we were at, we started charging $3 environmental fee per invoice. So even if your invoice was $200, $3 environmental fee. If it was, you know, $10,000, $3 environmental fee, right? It didn't matter what it was. If you were getting an installation service done by us, there was a $3 environmental fee. And I remember I had a customer ask me like what it was for. And I remember the owners didn't tell us, right? They just told us it was being added on, right? And you know, what ended up happening is we were utilizing it. So people come in and we do the installation, and we're disposing of all those boxes into the recycling bin. And the amount of boxes and cardboard in the industry we were in was just crazy. So, you know, they seen all their costs started skyrocketing for recycling services, and the amount of, like, we usually had about maybe 2 pickups a month or whatever, right? But we also had a big bin, you know, like one of those, what is it, like, I want to say 6-7 feet wide bins by like 5 feet deep and
probably a
6 feet deep.
40 cubic yard roll off is usually what you're talking about, like compactor.
Yeah, it's a big one, right? So
yeah.
So we were charging and then asking people if you want us to dispose of all your boxes, because the majority of people are never going to do anything with the boxes. They're literally going to take those boxes and throw them out, or throw them or sitting in their garage for the next 10 years and then not even remember that they have it. So yeah, our whole point, we were just recycling it and getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different things. I mean, I've watched a few of these recycling programs where you're recycling plastic that there's no recycling programs for, right? So I don't know how it is down there, but I know there was a whole thing, like actually, I think it was in Texas actually too, where it was all about the shopping bags and how shopping bags can't be recycled. So I'm assuming that you'd probably advise against using something like that in your business, right? Probably use like a paper bag or reusable bags or something like that.
Yeah, reusable bags are a great marketing opportunity for companies, where you can put your logo and slogan, whatever, but really provide that environmental impact message. But the single-use checkout bags can be recycled, just not in your traditional recycling plant. If you think about it, these what we call clingers, these really flexible, stretchy, thin film plastics and plastic wraps, they muck up the machinery inside. So you literally have to shut down the internal operations of the recycling plant, go in, drop a worker into, and cut away with the box cutter the binding of that plastic that got caught around the machinery and the teeth of the machinery. So that puts workers at risk. It's downtime for the recycler. It's costing, energy and money, and not getting to what they do best, which is process actual recyclable items, which are more rigid. And so there are ways to reduce or to recycle these types of single-use plastic bags. But also it's incumbent upon us to not use them. So our reduction in consumption of those types of bags is really important. And yes, we had plastic bag bans or ordinances in, I think, 11 cities across Texas. And a lot of them were on the Gulf Coast because they were seeing a lot of plastic shopping bags being swept away into the Gulf of Mexico and harming, wildlife or marine life. And unfortunately, these bans in Texas were overturned by the Texas Supreme Court. And so the years and years and years of lobbying, community grassroots lobbying, and efforts to protect our wildlife and our marine life at the local level, local control was taken away by the state government. Yet the state government will argue that the EPA, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, overreaches its authority.
I think I actually watched that episode on Netflix all about that. So that's why I brought it up. It was interesting.
Yeah. Single-use items are highly detrimental to our environment because like plastic forks and spoons, knives, styrofoam, these things just don't break down in the natural environment. So if they're not managed properly at the correct facility, then they're contaminants. They're problematic.
Yeah. I remember back in the day, you get a styrofoam cup and then you throw it in the fire, and then someone would say, I don't think you're supposed to do that. And it's like, well, what's the big deal? You just throw everything in the fire. And then those things have like disappeared. Like, I don't think I've seen styrofoam cups in over 10 years, right?
Really?
So, I mean, I don't think I have. I mean, that used to be the big thing, right? Even if you went to church or something like that, they'd have the 100 styrofoam cups and the coffee pot, and everybody would pour it in.
I think people are just a lot more conscious now, and they are starting to switch their own personal habits within their own personal lives. And they're teaching their children better ways, or actually their children are teaching them better ways, which is what we've seen quite a bit. Mommy, that doesn't go in that bin, it goes over there. And so the kids are teaching, with your two kids, you may be experiencing some of these life lessons that they are very proud to teach you sometimes.
Well, I was gonna say I use Starbucks kind of as an example
Yeah.
with what they try and do, because they have, if you buy a treat or sweet or something from them, it's always in a paper bag. If you get their coffee cups are recyclable. I can't remember if the top is recyclable or not. I don't remember if it is or isn't, but I know that the cup itself is. The collar that goes around it is also recyclable. So I know they try and work hard on that as a company. I mean, and so I feel they're a good example. I could be wrong of somebody who is trying to make sure to build a proper in what do we want to call it, environmentally conscious plan or whatever, right?
Environmentally preferable practices is usually how we'll categorize that. Now, when you've got something like a Starbucks lid, a lot of times it's just not big enough to recycle. It'll have the little chasing arrows and the little number inside that says this is the polymer itself is recyclable, but the actual lid, a lot of times it's not large enough to go through the entire shaker belt process in the recycling plant. So that means a lot of times they'll just fall to the plant floor. And a lot of times that just gets swept away and landfilled. So even those little to-go containers that have your barbecue sauce or, your salad dressing or whatnot, even those little things, they may have the sign, the chasing arrows symbol with the number inside that says this is a recyclable item, not necessarily recyclable at the plant where they get taken. So that's typically becomes a kind of a headache for the plant processors there, where they have to scoop up the remnants that never made it through the recycling process, or even to the end process, which is when they bale these huge blocks of like materials, such as aluminum and rigid plastics. So even though it is a rigid plastic, it's just too tiny and it falls straight through.
So what is your biggest lesson you've learned while growing your business?
The biggest lesson I've learned is say yes to every opportunity you can possibly say yes to. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna have to figure it out. And that is, even though it's a steep learning curve, you have a support network. It's not just you in building your business. You have mentors and you have a support network of colleagues and people who know more than you. And that's what I did one of my very first clients was an international pet food maker. And I went into that contract. I said, absolutely, we can help you out. And what I did was pull in on subcontracting roles my mentors in the zero waste space. And I trusted them because they were the ones that have been in this for 40 years. They've set the global definitions of what zero waste actually is and have been working with these types of companies for many, many years. So while I was leading the charge on paper, on the back end, I was learning how the entire process worked. And it was really great to be able to collaborate with these kind of heavy hitters in my industry of environmental zero waste consulting and seeing them in action and getting a sense from them of exactly what needs to be sought out and how to interview employees and upper management and, just to do the analysis report of auditing their waste stream and seeing what's going into the dumpsters and being hauled off the property. So it was a great learning experience, but it required the ego to be put aside and to allow people, or to surround yourself with people who know more than you. And that's not a weakness, that is a strength. So that was my biggest lesson. And I'm so glad I learned that early on, to make room for people who know more than you and don't take it to heart that you're not the expert maybe in a situation, but you're there to learn. We're all there to learn from each other, and best practices are critical because your clients' results are what's the pinnacle of the entire project.
Yeah, because that's basically showing vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right. Which a lot of people will say that's a superpower,
Mm-hmm.
showing vulnerability. And a lot of people will let their ego get in the way. And when you let your ego get in the way, I don't know. I will find that there are some things where it's like, okay, I've been there, done that, tried that, didn't work, thanks a lot kind of thing, right? For the advice, but I've been there and done that and it didn't work. However, at the same time, there's also the thinking of, okay, maybe you've been there and done that, but did you try doing it this way when you did it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's
Right.
where you have to put your ego aside and go, well, I didn't try doing it that way. I did try that, but not doing it that way with that kind of execution.
Right. Yeah. If because they're going to bring to the project their perspective, their frame of reference, and their ability to communicate and collaborate in different ways. So their perspective is very, very key. And I would not have wanted to do that project alone. It was such a huge project that I could not have done it alone. And I was just glad to be able to bring on my mentors into a major international business contract as kind of like my first toe dip into the pool 10 years ago.
Nice. So, I mean, you've been doing this for how long? Have you been doing this for, actually?
I've been in the environmental activism, political activism, legislative push kind of thing for the first 10 years of my career. And I founded Zero Waste Strategies about 10 years ago. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. And so, yeah, it's about 20 years in the environmental realm, but in different capacities.
So, what are some common objections when you're enrolling a prospect into your online training programs?
Yeah, our online training program is threefold. We have 3 tiers. So the first one is kind of a very high level, basic information, get the foundational knowledge, kind of a boot camp, if you will. And it's self-paced. It's kind of a done by you program, and it's videos and training resources and checklists and that kind of thing. Our tier 2 is a much deeper dive into your actual industry and your actual waste stream on site, and helping you figure out if there are any state and local policies you need to comply with and how to do that. And so that's a much deeper dive into the kind of hard to recycle materials, and helping you find ways to divert those materials away from landfill for higher and better uses, and above recycling or above food waste composting. What are the ways that we can utilize these materials before they go to recycling or composting? And then our tier, which is a done with you, so it's kind of hand in hand, we lead you through. And then the done for you program is tier 3. Fly my team out. We will get their boots in the ground. We will do everything for you, top to bottom, side to side, diagonally. You'll get all the information. We'll do all the training and with your staff, and we'll help you with green marketing, messaging as well, so that you can put those efforts, your best foot forward on those efforts in media marketing, to convey what you're doing to your customers, your employees, to boost that morale internally, and also your shareholders and investors. So the tiered program is kind of an all-in-one type of program, but you can take it at wherever you feel like you want to enter. If you want to enter at tier 2 because you already understand tier 1, great. Let's go for it. We want to deep dive with you. If you don't know where to start and you want us to do everything for you, great. We'll help you out that way too. So it's really just kind of demand based. It's helping you wherever you're at initially.
So with all these different tiers, every single one of them, you're developing systems and processes for that company. One of them, when you get into like, I guess, tier 2 and tier 3, it's on a way deeper level. And obviously the done for you, you're basically building their systems and processes for them and probably advising them, I'm assuming, on who to hire, what their roles should be, what you recommend. And I'm assuming it's probably different challenges depending on how big the company is. You got a company, let's call it 10,000 employees, you might be telling them, hey, you got to hire 50 people or something crazy like that, right? To do all this, or one person at every single one of your plants, that if they have, 50 plants or whatever it ends up being, right? So, I'm assuming that there's a lot of responsibility that's coming with what you're doing and what you're building for these companies, right?
Right. And that tier 3 is customized. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And everything that we give to the company is then the company's, it's their proprietary information. We hand that over to them under contract. So it's something, if they want to duplicate the employee training, well, that's theirs. We created it for them. Use it however you want. The training, the operational fixes or the money leaks that we find within those operations will help them seek out vendors, or vendors that have already been vetted in our national network of zero waste advisors. And that's another thing with the LEED certification, which is the energy and water standards, green building standards here in the US under LEED, LEED, waste has been folded into that. Waste has been folded into those criteria. And so you can also get not only LEED certification, you can get TRUE certification. TRUE is the zero waste assessment that has been certified, that you have shown all the work, you've shown all the spreadsheets, and you've shown where you've been able to reduce, you've gotten your waste stream down to 90% or better. 90% or better is what we're looking for as a zero waste facility, keeping those materials out of landfill on an annual basis. So really showing the work and how you've reduced, reused, repaired, recycled, composted throughout your entire operation. And I'm actually certified as a true advisor. And so if you're looking to get your facility certified under the zero waste protocols, we can help you out with that as well.
So zero waste management, you only have to basically be down to 10% waste. Am I hearing that right?
10% is the maximum allowable to landfill. If you want to be certified as zero waste, we have to find other outlets for all these other materials. We have to reduce the materials within your operation. We have very creative ways to really optimize the materials that you're using within your operation so that they are not hitting landfill. And a lot of that comes through recycling, but a lot of it comes even further up the chain of waste reduction and helping find new ways to mitigate waste.
Wow. So I know we're almost running out of time here. So how is it that somebody would get in touch with you? What's the best ways to?
Yeah, we're all over social media, Zero Waste Strategies, LLC. Their phone number here in the US is 512-693-7677. We can also be reached online. I do have an email contact form on our website that is zerowaste.org. And zero is the number zero. It's not the word zero. So it's the number zero, waste, WASTE.org.
Wow. Well, thanks a lot. I've learned a lot. We had a nice off-camera discussion as well. So appreciate you coming on the show, and I know you got to
Yeah.
get running. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Take care.